Republican Party unveiling a new website today. Did you hear about this? Aimed at educating the media and the public on just how a contested national convention would work. Well, with good reason. Here's the latest delegate count with Donald Trump at 736. Ted Cruz follows with 463. Marco Rubio, well, he's not even in the race anymore, but he still holds 171 delegates. And then John Kasich at 143. Here's the GOP website's homepage explaining the nominating process, which could get very, very complicated if no candidate earns the required 1,237 delegates. Let's talk about all this with Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. I found it fascinating that the RNC released this today, this website, to help educate all of us. Why, Karl?
Well, I think because there's a lot of misstatements and confusion running around there. For example, one of the candidates, Senator Ted Cruz, is saying that one of the party's rules, Rule 40B, means that only Donald Trump and he will be able to be on the ballot at the convention because they're the only two candidates who meet the threshold of having received a majority of the delegates in 8 states. Well, that's a misstatement. 40B refers to being able to be placed formally in nomination. It limits the number of people who can get speeches given during prime time and seconding speeches. It does not limit, and there is no limit on who delegates can vote for. Particularly, Carly Fiorina has a delegate. John Kasich has got delegates.
Well, that's fascinating.
People are bound to vote for these people. So I think what the National Committee is doing is a healthy thing, which says, let's be very transparent about the processes and the existing rules. Now, the Rules Committee will meet the week before the convention, but historically they have made very few changes in the rules from convention to convention. And 40B is frankly a recent innovation because the network said, there's a limited amount of time we're going to give you during prime time, and the party went to limit the number of people who would be formally placed in nomination, but there's no limit on who you can vote for.
That just changed 4 years ago. Mitt Romney was part of that, and part of it was having to do with Ron Paul not being able to come up on the main stage. But it's interesting because, see, just in that little rule alone, 40B, you have a different description of it than other people even had on this program yesterday, so it could get dicey. Now, did you bring the whiteboard today?
I did. I did. It was,
Let's talk about the delegates because the percentages for Cruz and Trump moving forward are really fascinating to look at. So can you describe what percentage Donald Trump would have to win to get the nomination, what percentage Cruz would have to win?
Yeah. If you take a look at the numbers that you just gave as to the number of delegates they have, Trump would need to win 55% of the delegates going here forward in order to receive an outright majority on the first ballot, 1,237. Ted Cruz would need to win 84% of the delegates in order to win an outright majority on the first ballot, 1,237. But there's another way to look at this, which is increasingly what's going to be important. The number that you need for the majority is 1,237. Trump has 736. The not Trump forces, if you take them and aggregate them together, there are 834 delegates who've been selected thus far who are not for Donald Trump. That's a 98 delegate majority for the anti-Trump forces.
Okay.
To be determined is 902. And the outcome of the campaign, the outcome of the nomination is going to be decided by those 902 delegates. Now, what happens if we have them break 50-50? Then we have Donald Trump at the convention with 1,187, short of the number needed to nominate, and the anti-Trump forces having 1,285. So there'd be still about a 98 delegate gap between Trump and the not Trump to the advantage of the not Trump. And the question is, could they coalesce? Now, what happens, however, if it's 47-53, which is what it's been so far? 47% of the delegates selected from here on out for Trump, 53% for non-Trump. Then it is Trump at 1,160, well short of the number needed to nominate, and the not Trump forces at 1,312 with a lead of 152. More likely that at that point they can coalesce around somebody.
Yeah, and that makes those Rubio delegates all the more important. We're going to get into that a little bit later on. Before I let you go, there was this really important meeting down in Sea Island earlier in the month of March. And I know you wanted to clarify something because it was reported that there was, all of these establishment people, including yourself, who were trying to figure out how to knock off Trump. What was the real story?
Well, the Huffington Post said that the highlight of the American Enterprise Institute meeting was a presentation by me on Trump focus groups, in which I said the greatest difficulty he faced in selling his candidacy was he didn't look presidential and wasn't a good role model for our children. Now, that sounds really cool. We have all these billionaires and tech people and party leaders, and Rove gives this dramatic presentation on focus groups. The only trouble is it was a complete and total fabrication. Yes, I gave a presentation there. On Sunday morning, I gave the go-away lecture, and it was on my book, The Triumph of William McKinley, Why the Election of 1896 Matters Today.
Okay.
And there was no such focus groups, no such presentation, no such highlight. I'm not aware of any focus group that says that those are the two big things that are wrong with Donald Trump.
Okay.
But I got to tell you, they did spell my name right, so you got to give that credit to the Huffington Post.
Better than the Starbucks person this morning who spelled Gretchen quite interesting, T-I-O-N. Just as a
There
side
we
note.
go.
All right, Karl, thanks much.